Do it. Do it, do it, do it. All right, we're doing it. We're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our daily success call for Wednesday, the 20th of April, 2022. John Lavinia here with you. Hooray. How fortunate are you that you get to hang out with me today? That is pretty awesome. It's good to see you all. I do see Lynn, Alec, Deborah, Catherine, Tracy's here. Angel, her picture's here anyway, but nobody else is on camera. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, it's okay. I'm on camera. I'm gorgeous. You can just stare at me. Good to see you all. Just before we went live here, Alec was talking about getting organized. So I think we're going to take that up. We're going to get organized and for good reason. And for good reason. So I'm going to give you a couple ideas today that you could take and use. This is going to be much more probably lighthearted than our conversation yesterday, which I found very useful as well. I hope you all did as well. But look, organization is a big deal. And I know a lot of times people have, well, there's two different strategies with this. One strategy is to not have a strategy. The other strategy is to have a strategy. Now, I'm going to give you something that I learned in a lecture some decades ago. From a guy who was talking about how to be successful, because we all want to be successful, right? He said, all success is based on orderly movement. So if you look at just law, right? The concept of law, like a universal law or any, not man-made laws, but like laws of gravity, right? Things like this. So you've got what? Order. Right. So you can't break the law. It's very predictable. It's orderly. Okay. And then you've got movement. Some doing this is happening. Something is occurring. And then that would be a successful action. So if I took, if my goal was to have this device, in this case, it's a phone, but if my goal was to have this device be on my lap, I could go like this. So that was orderly movement. Okay. So the law of gravity worked. It moved. It got there. Done. All right. Simple concept, right? So when we talk about organizing, we're talking about creating order. Creating order. The alternative is disorder, random movement. Now, does that sound like the formula of success to you? Probably not. Probably not. And yet, there are some people who have just a natural tendency to be more organized than others. Okay. In fact, I'll tell you, a lot of people spend half of their waking hours just looking for their stuff. I'm not joking. Okay. We have a rule in my house that there is no question that starts with the words, "Where is my?" If the question starts with, "Where is my?" then the answer is always wherever you left it. That's the answer. Always, always, always. That rule originated as a result of my daughter who's constantly, she's like an explosion, just like a tornado, like stuff everywhere. And so, yeah, so let's create some order. Now, in terms of success in business, it's also based on what? Orderly movement, right? So we've got, working production in terms of your products. We've got the movement of the message into the marketplace, right? Here, come buy my stuff. There is the orderly movement of people's attention and credit cards on buying your stuff, right? So that's orderly movement. So we got to have both. We got to have order and movement. Well, what's the thing that we're focusing on today is creating order so that you're not spending half your life looking for stuff, right? Or where's my tools or whatever. Think of it like this. You've got, say, a police officer. Okay, there's an interesting and easily observable analogy. All right, so they have their gear on their belt, perhaps on their vest, right? And so they don't have to look for the gear. I need the handcuffs. I need the weapon. The pen, whatever it happens to be, right? The walkie-talkie or the radio. So they've got predictability. They're not looking for their stuff. Okay. Therefore, they can operate much faster, much more efficiently. So organization yields efficiency, right? Less time spent in unnecessary movement. Remember, orderly movement is what we're after. Okay. So with that in mind, what can you do to create order in your objective environment? Okay. Unlike, what my daughter does. and also subjectively in here, in that which, has to think and make decisions and all this. Couple ideas, and then I'd love to open it up to hear what you guys think, because some of you may be more organized than me. Now, I've been accused of being the most organized guy in the world. We had our housekeeper here yesterday, and she didn't even come into my office, probably because I was working the whole time. But also, there's nothing to do in here. I suppose you can sweep up, whatever, and dust off. Well, I already dusted that off, right? So my stuff is exactly where I want it to be. And maybe I'm a bit obsessive about that. Okay, that's fine. But I'm never looking for my stuff. Okay, so what's one thing you can do, starting with the outward, objective, world, right? One thing you could do, and I don't say you spend a week doing this, but you can take a couple hours, whatever it takes, to create a workspace for yourself. I know some of you are working out of, here's the corner desk in the bedroom or whatever. Okay, that's fine if that's the space that you're working with now. But create order in that space, or if you've got a dedicated office like I do, create order in that space, optimized for whatever activities you're going to be doing in that space. You see, one thing that a lot of people do is they conflate or they commingle different actions in a specific space. So let's say the kitchen. And the kitchen, which is where people tend to congregate when you got company over and we're talking and we're making the coffee and, oh, how about the cupcakes? It's all in the kitchen. You may have this beautiful, great room with the lounging chairs and the couches, but for some reason, everybody's standing around in the kitchen. Well, the kitchen is a place to prepare food. Okay. So you can see how that naturally happens, is how we mingle, literally, in certain places. Okay. Well, if you have just one little example, if you've got a workspace in which you are there to create, to produce, and therefore, have prosperous thoughts and have enthusiasm for your work and everything, but don't have things that are counter to that in that space. Bills. Okay, so this is one way that you could create order, not just physically on your, in your workspace, okay, but in your mind, right? Can you get, let's say you've got bills or whatever, right? So these are expenses, or they will be expenses once you pay them, okay? But let's say that does not, you don't find that pleasing to your mindset as you're in your creative mode, okay? So in this space, we don't see that stuff. Now, it could be right over there in the file cabinet, or fine. It's just not, it's not something that's, you're not looking at it. It's not looking at you. Okay. So we're creating space in that way, or we're creating order in that space. What's another thing you could do? There's this whole idea of minimizing clutter, just like you would minimize, what's the old saying, that the shortest way from A to B is a straight line, right? So rather than going here and there and diversions and all that, so what things are not needed in this space? Okay, so we just talked about one example of something that is not desired in that space, or that would be not conducive to you having your creative time or whatever. But what things are obstacles to that space? Some people are pack rats. I get it. Well, lighten the load a little bit, right? And then now what? Not only do you have physically more space to operate, right? Does anybody like being cramped? I'll tell you what, I go to seminars and stuff, and they've got, and not so much lately with the whole COVID thing and social distancing and whatever that is, right? But you ever sit down at the seminar and there's like the rows of chairs, and the chairs actually hook together? They've got like a mechanism, like a piece of metal, and like the chairs are like sardines, man. And look, I've been lifting weights for some time. I got wide shoulders, right? So like, yeah, so I'm kind of liking the whole, let's have a little, couple of feet. All right, that's good. I kind of like that. So in that way, I guess social distancing has worked for me. But if I'm sitting in an auditorium or something, but that sort of being cramped, no one actually prefers that, right? Actually, I hear in China, that's part of their culture. Like, the people are bumping into each other. Like, there's no sense of personal space I don't know how many of you spend time in China, but I've certainly been around, like big crowds of like tourists. Here's the busload of Chinese people, and they're coming in with their cameras and they're taking pictures of the rocks and whatever, right? And so yeah, they're like right up on there, right there. But space is good. Now, not only does that relate to physical space, that also relates to mental space. Clutter. All right. So if we look at clutter as not only a physical impediment to you moving swiftly and efficiently, okay, and not being able to go from A to B and having to divert and or find your stuff or whatever, then we could say the same thing about our mental space. That, in fact, I just had this conversation with my mastermind group. Is the idea of getting in the way of the flow. So here is energy, right? And here is the goal or whatever the result or whatever the purpose of the work is, right? But in between, here's the potentiality for success and production and whatever. In between that and the actual achievement of the goal or whatever, here's all my considerations about it. Here's all the left and right and turning up and down and all of that, right? That gets in between, just get it done. So we're creating order in our mind as well. And I can tell you that when I feel good, I do good. When my emotional state is up, so are my statistics. Okay, when I'm not getting in my own way or having stuff get in my own way. So we can be, as entrepreneurs, and you have license to be, judicious about what you allow in your space. So this is another way of creating order. Let's talk about one more, and then I'm going to open it up, because I've done whole courses on this, and I could talk for days about this stuff. But the just observing what has worked for me, right? I'm not just giving you theory, right? This is actually what works in my life. What's another thing you could do? Let's say you have other people in your household, which many of us do, right? Your moms, dads, grandmas, daughters, sons, whatever, right? And so you've got an agenda, and you've got 24 hours to accomplish an agenda, and then you'll have another agenda tomorrow, right? But you're not alone, and so there must be order. In other words, organizing time. Okay, there must be order that you're able to put in, since all success is based on orderly movement. And in that time, you can move in the ways that are conducive to you accomplishing your agenda. So where can you set up boundaries? Okay, lovingly, where it's like, okay, this is mommy's work time, and it's made known. There's nothing vague about it. Okay, it's made known that during these golden hours, right, this is mommy's work time, and then we're going to have fun and eat lunch and do ice cream and whatever when it's not mommy's work time. But we're going to compartmentalize and actually put this on the calendar, right? So again, making it known, because if it isn't written, it doesn't exist, at least in my world, right? I know if it's not on my calendar, it's not going to happen. Okay, so I'm compartmentalizing, I'm blocking off time, and then when I'm on, and when I'm off. This is interesting, because creating that sort of order and putting timelines on things reduces the amount of time it takes to get stuff done, which is one of the first things I had to learn how to do. Parkinson's law states that work expands to fill the time allotted for it. So how long does it take? Well, we'll get around to it, right? Or I could spend forever on it. Work expands to fill the time allowed for it. What if you got some hard deadlines? How many of you were, when you were in school, you had the book report that was due on Thursday? Oh crap, that's tomorrow. I still haven't even read the book. I see some of you. I see you, right? So what was that? That was Parkinson's law, right? I could do it later. I want to go out and play. I want to do something else, right? Frankly, I don't want to read the book. The book is crap, but I have to read it. I got to write the report on it. And okay, I'll get to it, right? What was there? Something that Brian Tracy talked about. Eat that frog, right? So just get it done. This is why done is my favorite 4-letter word. Get it done, right? And then you're not thinking, oh, I still got to do that other thing. Well, let me go do something else. Oh, I still got to do that other thing. Just get that other thing out of there, right? And then again, you free up more mental space to go be creative and stuff like that, right? So the biggest enemy of progress and success, I would say, is indecision. If you want to eat up a bunch of time, there's the magic word: indecision, maybe, right? Considerations, right? And vias, this way, that way, not A to B, not A to B, not done. Okay. So if we are finding ourselves in a state of disorder or random movement or no movement, right? In other words, no structure, no routine, no boundaries, then this would be a way to recapture a lot of that time and the energy that is going somewhere, right? And something's happening with those 24 hours, right? So orderly movement, my friends. And when you put this in play, I just gave you a couple ideas on it today. We can talk for days on this, but a couple ideas. I'd love to hear your ideas on this. But freeing yourself up from unnecessary obstructions, barriers, vias, distractions, that which prevents you from moving swiftly toward a predetermined goal. Stu, you've got your hand up. Then we'll go to Deborah. Hey, Stu, what's going on, brother?
Hey, John. Good subject you got going on there. So it's one of my pet dogs that chase me all the time. I refer to a lot of things as I got a big dog chasing me, and that usually means I got some chores I haven't got done. And when LHS came along, it presented a whole new bunch of chores, which was fascinating for the ADHD mind. Hey, I can get in here and mess this up too. So I had to bring some order to all the moving parts. And I am, when it comes to paperwork, I actually have had physical anxiety at the thought of a mountain of paperwork. Looking at it, I just, and I would find some distraction somewhere to get me away from that, and that's not a good way to be. So I realized early on that paperwork's not my forte, and I have found I would look for any reason to avoid it, and I would find ways to work around it. Well, one of the workarounds I found with this, and I might have talked about it before, is my phone, my iPhone. And I just discovered something today that just had me jumping for joy. This is so cool. The last upgrade to the iOS on the iPhone, for those of you that have iPhones, now has text scan. Now I use the app called Notes, and I keep everything in there. My birth certificate, my driver's license, insurance, ownership, everything's in there, and it's all searchable. Whereas before, everything was in files. I had no idea where those paper files were. So I can, you ask me for something, you want a recipe, I got it, right? And I can search for, my recipes in there. And I don't have to go through a whole bunch of flipping. I just tell Siri to go find it for me. But this text scan, I hit it by accident. They just introduced this menu item to their menu on Notes, and in Notes, like for birth certificate, I just type a heading, birth certificate, and I take a picture with my phone of my birth certificate, and it would scan it perfectly, and boom, there it is, done. Next. But with text scan, I found out today, and I hit the button by accident. It was a new entry, and I'm looking at my COVID things, because I got COVID again, right? And I want to make sure I've got everything for the 100 questions I'm going to have next time I go to the hospital. So I go to scan the picture, but I hit the wrong button. It scanned all the text right into my notepad there, and I'm looking, oh my goodness! And I can edit that text. I can add to it. It's just like I had typed it all in. So, John, you have favorite passages in books, I bet. If you got an iPhone, you can just take a text scan of it, and that'll take all that text and put it wherever you want it, and then you can go mess with it, right? So that's a very good way for me to organize my paperwork, right? So that's just a little tip for you guys. The other thing is, I often ask myself, and I'm borderline hoarder when it comes to tools and woodworking and stuff like that. So I often I have this whole thing. I'll ask myself, so if this place burned down, what would you miss? And it always comes down to photographs, basically it, right? So, but all my photographs are now getting onto my phone. So, and with the LHS system, my browser bar, I've got folders all the way along there for the different aspects of it, and like the Zoom meetings. I've got all my Zoom meetings in there, so I can quickly get to a link and watch the panic when I absolutely accidentally delete one. I'm a mess. So be careful not to do that. So there you go, John.
Thank you, Stu.
Yeah.
And Scott's offering us a reminder to back up our data. Thank you, Scott. That's good. I think nowadays a lot of people are just running, cloud storage, assuming you have faith in that. Then yeah, that's another way to back up.
Close that door.
So yeah. Hey, Deborah, you've got the floor, my friend.
How are you doing?
I'm awesome. Thanks for asking.
Well, Stu did such a great job. He hit on a couple of points I was going to say or talk about. But I think as a child growing up, we were always trained to schedule one day to clean up and throw out. And that's usually Saturday morning. We were not allowed out the house to do anything that we wanted to do unless we had done that. So out of that activity, I learned how to organize and keep things together, especially when you go to college and everybody wants to walk off with your coat or your clothes, whatever. You had to be organized. So that has gone to my work. I do have to feel, and I love the quote, all success is based on orderly movement. If I'm not orderly, I am not going to be successful. And if I do not have the space or the ability to look around, and if I have something like Stu, he has it all organized in his phone or certain places. If I cannot acquire or attach myself and get something, and I use a planner for that, to meet appointments, I am in a mess. So this is something that everybody experiences. I even had a partner once, and they told us that some big hucky mugs were going to come through the office and we needed to clear our space. Well, my space was okay, and she was out sick, so I thought I'd clear up hers. And she came back and she had a fit on me because she filed vertically. Had you ever heard of someone filing vertically? And she had towers of information. It just drove me crazy since I was in the same cubicle with her. But when I straightened it up, she just had a fit because she couldn't find anything. So how you organize that's best to your advantage is a system that may work for you. And I always look at the show Hoarders, that I know when they are so cluttered, no matter what you have, you're only going to reach that which you have within arm's reach. You're not going to dig through everything, try to find what you need. So you may know it's there, but you cannot, it's such a mess, you cannot locate it. So that shows that you really need an organization. And once those people can see their space, it's a different emotional feeling they have. So I do believe if you're not organized, and I wrote down the note, I think Stu gave this to us before, maybe Stu, Evernote. Did you use Evernote? Yeah. And I'm going to look at that again for more for my paper, because I came from a generation that has to have paper. So I'm training myself to get rid of paper. But you cannot work if you're not organized.
Awesome. Thank you, Deborah. I've heard of that show, by the way, Hoarders, I believe.
Don't look at it, John.
No,
If
I
have a
hear
little
it's
bit of
pretty
obsessive
spectacular, though.
just don't look at
Yeah, yeah. Like it's something to see. Like people have just mountains of crap in their house, mountains of it.
And they know it's there, but I don't know, it can be just a small area where you are working. If it's full of junk, you're only going to reach within arm's reach. You're not going to go into your junk at all to find whatever. You'll buy something new. And some people have bought things 2 and 3 times because they couldn't get into their junk to find that they already had it.
Right. It's amazing. Amazing stuff. What do you think, Lynn? Let's hear from Lynn, then Scott, then Kimberly, and then Catherine. Hey, Lynn, you've got the floor.
Okay. a while ago, you mentioned attention units.
Mhm.
And I sort of ran with that. I thought AU, that's like also means gold. And I was using the attention units to sort of get myself through the day, and it was working very nicely. And then this whole sort of thing with having to pack the house up, which I'm still doing, kind of sort of totally drifted me off. So your talk tonight is kind of a nice way of going, oh yeah, refocus. I think in the meantime, I've just been throwing out, like we're talking about decluttering. I've filled a blue bin. I'm taking stuff. I'm shedding about a good third of my stuff, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like I'm still going through that process, but it feels like once the house has been rewired and I can actually unpack again, I'm going to have a much more organised, sort of streamlined, almost like a spaceship kind of environment. I mean, Art Deco spaceship, but nevertheless, it's going to be much more efficient, and I'm going to feel more productive in it too. So it's an interesting process at the moment. And your talk just sort of pulled it right back to that original, earlier thing tonight. So it was beautifully timed for me, and it sort of ties in with what's going on organically around me at the moment.
Good. Well, yeah, the whole idea of attention and spending it here and there is that you're going to spend it somewhere, and you only get so much, right? So choose well. That's why this whole idea of creating order physically and mentally, just like the email that never stops, the binging and bonging going on. When Stu was talking about the iPhone, the operating system, I was thinking maybe he had just discovered the do not disturb mode. Man, I discovered that the moment they released it, and it's on all the time. So yeah, you got to have control of inbound and outbound attention. Thank you, Len. Glad you're here. I see Tracy put in the chat. She recommends reading Decluttering at the Speed of Life. I have not heard of that book, but if that's for you, then there you go. Thank you, Tracy. Let's hear from Scott Barker, then Kimberly, then Catherine. Hey, Scott.
Hello, John. Good morning, everyone. This is a jam-packed conversation, I think. It sort of brings a lot of things to mind. I think one of the important points here is to establish systems. And if you're a systems-oriented person, this is sort of gold, because basically everything will depend on the systems you establish, and not only establishing the systems, but also working consciously all the time to improve those systems, to streamline those systems. Because as you learn more about the business, the fine nuances of what is really relevant and what's not will become more apparent to you. And it's as much about what you let go of as what you actually do. Because you have the time wasters, you have time wasting activities, you have time wasting physical confusion, you have time wasting other people as well. And that's where it's important to learn to let go of these things. And sometimes it's not just letting go, it's a question of putting up boundaries with yourself and with other people. Because life itself is as much about what you let go of as what you hold on to. And sometimes you have to let go of lesser goals, or sometimes lesser people, things that don't serve your best interests. And that can be as hard as doing the thing that you need to do as well, sometimes even harder. But unless you do that, you won't establish the streamline, the efficiencies, the streamlined method you need to really move ahead. There's so much, but yeah, I think that's the important thing, just to know, to be able to let go of the things that don't serve you. And that's that can be hard sometimes, but it's essential. And also to just do review your process, your productivity, the way you do things, to make sure you're not wasting time, because that is the one resource you cannot replace. I mean, you can make a mistake with the design or whatever and do it again, but you can't get that time back. So when learning how to cut out inefficiencies in your system will maximize the way you use that time. because I mean, it's like it's the most limited resource you have. I mean, even health, hopefully you can get back, but you can't get that time back. So if you establish the systems, then you've got a chance of getting hold of that. And as I say, if you want something, don't give it to a busier person, because they will compartmentalize their time. They will not waste time, and they will get 10 times more done. And that's because they have systems and they have boundaries. They have lines. You don't cross them, because they'll can you if you cross them, because that's the price of their success. That's enough for me.
Thank you, Scott. Good stuff.
Nice.
Always good to hear you, brother. Hey, let's go from the
Thank
northern
you.
lights to the really tall grass that Kimberly is living in. Hey, Kimberly, what's going on with you?
Well, I kind of thought of three things, and less organizational, more, I guess, people-centered. But the first was kind of know thyself. I mean, I know that certain tasks require total silence. Certain tasks require music, and I can even handle things with lyrics, but I often need instrumental. Some things I can do with like TV series that I've watched several times in the background, because I don't need to look up, and it's a task that is sort of mindless. The second thing I thought of was, everyone's talking a lot about boundaries, and with family, even if you have your own office, and especially if you're working at the kitchen table. I homeschooled 3 kids, and my husband was home during the working hours sometimes because of his schedule. I have friends bopping in and out, and I often couldn't work in the office. I often had to work at the kitchen table, and I would often wear a hat that denoted the fact that I was working. I'd be like, just point to the hat, so that they knew that they had to be on fire or something to ask me a question, because they just had terrible boundaries. Because you're important, and they need to know. And then the other thing that I thought of was your behavior with people, and even with your animals, when you're not working, is to really, when you're with them, to really be with them, because then they'll respect your boundaries better. I mean, I am with my dog and my daughter's dog, and they're both rescues. They're very needy. And sometimes I just have to really be with them for, even 10 seconds, just to get them to understand that I love them, but I've got to work now. And just being with your family and your friends in the moment when you're with them, so that they will respect the boundaries when you are working and can't be with them, is helpful in getting them to respect those boundaries.
That is awesome. I love the hat idea. That's great. That Kimberly, that reminded me of something that I've been shopping for recently, which is a no soliciting sign. But a fun one. Yeah. Hey, you know what, guys? Let's have a brief interlude, and let's look at some funny no soliciting signs. Let's do that. What do we got here? There we go. Here's a classic. There's that. Door knockers beware. Oh, here we are. There's that. That's pretty direct. There was one in here that said that it's just, don't ring the bell, don't make it weird. There was one that said, something about awkward silence while I point to the sign. Look at this. I was soliciting. Yeah. Okay. All right. Have fun with that. Look up your own no soliciting signs. You guys were able to see my screen, right? When I did that. Okay, good. Why don't we wrap up with Catherine? She's always fun. Hey, Catherine, good to see you.
Hey, I love this talk. Growing up, my mom was really, really strict. She used to have a chore list on our fridge that my brother and I had, weekly and daily chores. And if we didn't mark them off at the end of the night, they worked a graveyard shift, they would throw us out of bed at 3 or 4 in the morning and make us do our chores. And so, as a young adult, I hated having a list of things I was required to do. So I'm having to now relearn that, how to have my, you've talked about block scheduling, which is what I do now. So I'm having to relearn that, but do it my way. You know, I can't throw myself out of bed at 3 a.m. Well, I probably could, but I don't want to. So I just love the timeliness of this. And you really inspired me because I've been putting off organizing my desk here. It looks like a tornado came through right now. And I had a meeting that got canceled today. So I'm going to now take that time and reorganize my desk.
There you go. Repurposing that attention, right? It's like,
Yep.
well, this time was already scheduled. So now here's my contingency plan. So
Yes.
good times, Catherine. Thank you.
Oh, and
All
I
right,
also
ladies and
have,
gentlemen. Oh, yes.
oh, sorry, I was gonna say, I also have a sign on my door. You were those no soliciting signs because I write as well in my spare time, so my other things. So I have a sign on my door when my door is closed that the kids will see it, and it says, you know, do not enter writer at work. You know, intruders will be written into the story and murdered.
All right. Oh, I saw one that, yeah, I'm going to share my screen one more time. I got a kick out of these guys. This is one that I'm thinking about getting. I don't know. What do you guys think? So no soliciting, no pamphlets, no politics, no religion. Look, he's got the gun. He's wearing his underwear. There's the dog with the leg. Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right. We're done. Oh wait, Stu, you have the last word, Stu. Stu, click the button. Stu.
Oh, sorry. Sorry,
Yeah.
John. Yeah. I just discovered my phone can read my handwriting. I was making notes from you guys and I tried it and I can edit it now. So this
Wow.
is cool. Yeah, that's it.
Modern technology.
love it.
Fantastic. Well, you are reveling in orderly note taking. That is very good. Thank you, Stu. Good to see you, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back here with you tomorrow. Have an awesome day. You totally deserve it. Okay. Put some order in your life and in your business and see it in your results. We'll see you again real soon. Bye for now.